The situation in Ethiopia is spiraling out of control. Violence and destruction have reached alarming levels. The social fabric is being ripped apart. Hostilities in the Tigray region of Ethiopia must end now, including the immediate withdrawal and disengagement of Eritrean armed forces from Ethiopia. There is no military solution. Civilians are paying a horrific price. Indiscriminate attacks, including in residential areas, are killing more innocent people every day, damaging critical infrastructure and limiting access to vital services. Hundreds of thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes since hostilities resumed in August, many of them for the second time. And we are also hearing disturbing accounts of sexual violence and other acts of brutality against women, children and men. All parties must adhere to their obligations under international humanitarian law. Civilians must be protected, and so too humanitarian workers who are being attacked and even killed delivering life-saving humanitarian aid. The level of need is staggering. Even before the resumption of hostilities, 13 million people required food and other support across Tigray, Amhara and Afar. Deliveries of aid into Tigray have been suspended for more than 7 weeks, and assistance to Amhara and Afar has also been disrupted. All parties must allow and facilitate the rapid and unimpeded passage of humanitarian relief for all civilians in need. The United Nations is ready to support the African Union in every possible way to end this nightmare for the Ethiopian people. We need the urgent resumption of talks towards an effective, lasting political settlement. And the international community must rally together now for peace in Ethiopia.
James Bayes, Al Jazeera. Could I first ask you on Ethiopia? You say there is no military solution, but the Ethiopian government and the Eritrean forces believe they are close to victory. And secondly, if I could ask you on Haiti, why is an international force needed? And are you close to getting countries coming forward, stepping up to provide such a force?
Well, first of all, the problem with wars is when both sides think they can win the war. And we have had episodes in which both sides have affirmed that conviction. My belief is that there is really no military solution. And it's important to think about the need to reconcile the communities that have been so dramatically impacted by this war. Now, in relation to Haiti, we live in an absolutely dramatic situation. We have the harbor blocked by the gangs, not allowing fuel and other needed materials to move. We have, because of that, no fuel in the city. Having no fuel, there is no water. And we have an outbreak of cholera. And you know that the treatment for cholera, the most important hitter, is hydration. And there is no water available in the city. So it's an absolutely nightmarish situation for the population of Haiti, especially Port-au-Prince. That is the reason why twice I referred in informal meetings to the Security Council and then formally through a report and letter that I presented, that I believe that we need not only to strengthen the police, strengthening it with training, with equipment, with a number of other measures, but that in the present circumstances we need an armed action to release the port and to allow for a humanitarian corridor to be established. I'm talking of something to be done in support of the Haitian police, and I'm talking of something to be done based on strict humanitarian criteria, independent of the political dimensions of the problem that need to be solved by the Haitians themselves.
Sherwin. Thank you. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, South African Broadcasting.
All right, and let's take you back to the United Nations right now.
And then there's also the space to allow the African processes to play itself out here. Is it time for the Security Council to take a more active role in terms of sanctioning members, resolutions, for example, as it pertains to what is happening in Ethiopia?
But you are referring to which of
to the situation in Ethiopia.
In Ethiopia.
There's been an argument that this is an internal matter and the Council doesn't have any purview given its role in terms of international peace and security, and also to give the Africans the space to solve their own problems. Is it time for greater action from this Council?
Well, I do believe that this conflict, which essentially was born as an internal conflict, today has an international dimension. You have Eritrean forces inside Ethiopia. You have a delicate situation in the border of Sudan. So this is something that needs to be seriously considered by all entities, including the Security Council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Secretary General, when you say armed action, what?
And that is Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary-General, talking about developments in Ethiopia, saying that what is happening there must stop. Civilians are bearing the brunt of the situation. They're, of course, talking about the ongoing civil war and saying that it can no longer remain an internal matter because it is starting to impact, Francis, quite a number of neighboring countries, saying that it is time now for the Security Council also to look at this because they're looking at what is happening now on the border with Sudan and also just how you have now Eritrean forces as well. So saying that there needs to be quite a lot that needs to be done now to ensure that this escalation comes to an end.
And this was a short statement from the Secretary General because Ethiopia, he said the situation there is spiraling out of control, talking about rapes, violence, abuse that is happening in the Tigray region, and just saying to both sides that armed conflict doesn't solve anything. The question from our colleague Sherwin there is saying, there has been this argument, give Africans the space to solve it themselves. But like you say, he said there is an international element because of the presence of Eritrean forces, and they believe it's time to act.